Good morning. So we're going to do better. We're going to do the start better. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that gets me messed up for the start of the videos in the morning, but it definitely happens. How are you today? Is the day going like you had hoped so far? Mine has. I got everything I needed to get done before the stream, and now we'll just be here. Couple things today. We've got an article about this free speech / hate speech, rules in real estate for agents, and it's one of the things I've talked about in the past. I don't really like to run afoul of like speech rules, okay? But I do believe in free speech, and I don't know where the line is, and I don't particularly want to find out. I've told you in the past that I'm nervous about what I put on YouTube because YouTube has the algorithm in it, and it can tell us exactly on this stream exactly what word I said wrong and cut the stream. It can cut my channel just based on, they say we get 3 strikes. You don't get 3 strikes if you say something against the narrative. It's over. So I get nervous. I don't know that. Let's see. How do I put this? There's a segment of the population, in my opinion, that thrives on pushing the boundaries, and especially if it's on their side. So if you're on the right, if you can get Twitter to ban you or lock you out of your account, it's considered a badge of honor. If you're on the left and you get banned by Twitter, it's met with consternation because how could you possibly ever be doing anything against the Twitter rules? So it's fascinating. If you're me, I'm not a big enough fish. I'm not using my politics to get to where I want to go. So it's not a game I want to play. And yet we bump up against these things in our day-to-day lives. There are news stories, okay? Just the story itself is considered something you can't do on, you can't talk about on YouTube. And I mean, these are published stories. This isn't like maybe Backpage or some terrible, dark web spot. This is mainstream news that you can't talk about. And it changes. So I'm in this spot where I want to bring to you real estate content. I want to bring to you how it meets with our culture. Real estate, architecture, things of this nature, you can kind of tell a society and how they're doing based on those things. So I want you to be able to have these stories, but even to talk about the story, even to bring it up might be something that gets me in trouble on YouTube, which to me is just wild. Again, when the internet started, I was around, and there was this whole idea that the internet was going to be a free place, and that you were going to be able to kind of create whatever you wanted to online. And slowly over the years, it's being more and more restricted. And just to bring it up, like, this is how little I know about the metaverse. Okay, this idea that there's this, we can go to this place and it'll be all like perfect, and it'll be online, and it'll be just like real. I mean, we can't even get the real world right, and you think we're going to get this digital world figured out correctly? I'm suspect. I'm highly suspect of this prospect. Also, Twitter is a dumpster fire. Twitter has been a dumpster fire since it started. Okay, and yet everyone goes to Twitter, and I have resisted. I mean, we have the Deerwood Realty account for Twitter. It's just a repost of the stuff, of the content that we create. I had a personal Twitter account, and I just reading Twitter every day will just make you crazy. So it's out, but people have talked about how there'll be more censorship now that Jack Dorsey stepped down, and why, you know, why should I? I'm trying to figure that. I'm trying to explain this in a way that's in my head. I don't understand why, if you're upset about a platform, okay, why do you stay on it? It's like an abusive relationship. I mean, if it's so bad, I mean, you see people that's just Twitter's terrible, and they're on it. Go find something else. You say, well, there's nothing else out there. Well, there's a lot of things out there. It's just that Twitter's where everybody is, and you want to be on your internet. It's the same reason why I'm on YouTube and I'm not on Odyssey or I'm not on any other platform right now. I need to get exposure. I can't get, I mean, the number of eyeballs in YouTube are massive compared to anything that I would get on Odyssey or somewhere else. So, I mean, you're kind of stuck with it. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how it's going to be done. But if one day I'm just gone, you know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So, you know, what do we got today? Well, I thought we'd go through some articles. I thought we'd talk over them. But I think one thing I wanted to bring up was the video that I made yesterday that wasn't on the stream. It was just about realtor violence. And it's something that it makes me uncomfortable, partly because I don't know how to kind of put it in its own compartment. That is, I feel like real estate, not quantitative, I feel like real estate is a lot more dangerous than people realize, but I can't quantify it in any way. Except when I see a story about a real estate agent being murdered while working, real estate agent being attacked while they're working at an open house. I mean, that to me, I mean, is it confirmation bias because it points me to believe that that it's a dangerous industry and that we should try to, you know, highlight that and also, you know, be a little careful with how we do things. I don't know. Realtor safety is like a big deal to me. And so the story yesterday, it was, I mean, I'm not a very emotional person. I have some feelings, like 4. And the story yesterday got me. It got me at a level because this, you know, if you're in the real estate business, let's just assume in St. Louis there's 10,000 agents, and of those 10,000 agents, there's probably 500 or fewer that are you know, that are living the dream in real estate. The rest of the people are out there just scratching, clawing, and hoping to make it. And you know, this particular case, this woman had been a real estate agent somewhere else, and she had moved. I don't even remember where the story was, but she goes and she holds an open house. So she has a listing. And I hope, and to be honest with you, I hope it was her listing, because if you're a young real estate agent or even an old real estate, if you're new to the business, one of the ways you can try and drum up business is if you can go do open houses for people's listings. So what that does is, so someone in your office has a listing and they don't want to work on Sunday. They want to, you know, hang out with their family or something. So they say, well, I'm having an open house. Why don't you do the open house? You don't get paid for going there. Okay. And your goal is to hope that someone walks through the door that is unrepresented as a buyer, so that you could either sell them the house that you're in or the house that, you know, show them some other houses in the neighborhood or something and possibly sell it there. Is it a reasonable strategy for a beginner? Yes. Is it as successful as other strategies? I'll be honest with you. Right now, with so many people coming into being real estate agents because of the quote unquote money, you're not going to see, it's hard. It's hard to even get one client. So, try anything you want to. That would be my advice. But anyway, so here's this woman, and so now we don't know if she even has a listing, but we know she's doing an open house. A fellow comes through the house and he talks about his kids, he talks about his work, and they go through the house. Now, one of the things about realtor safety that I'm familiar with is a lot of times women are more, I'd say, I don't mean to be sexist, but women seem to be more conscious about, like, where their surroundings, as far as, like, you wouldn't want to go to a basement without a way to get out type things. I don't really want somebody following behind you. It's kind of weird. But anyway, she, talked to the guy, and the guy left, and that's not unusual. Like, that happens over and over and over again in an open house. What was unusual is when he was waiting for other people to stop going through the house, and when he came back with a crescent wrench and then beat her over the head with it 12 times, fractured her skull. That just makes me sick. It made me sick yesterday. I'm not someone that can normally be influenced to give, but I did give to this particular situation. Why? Well, I know what it's like. My open houses are, it's not fun to be at an open house on a Sunday afternoon. It'd be even worse to be attacked. I just felt for the woman. It wouldn't matter if it was a man. The fellow that got shot last month that I talked about, that bothered me too. The idea that you have a buyer from out of town, which isn't unusual, and you show them this house, they end up writing a contract and getting the house, and then when they come to see the house, either it's nothing like the guy thought it was on the pictures, which is what he said before he shot the agent, or just a bad person. So anyway, this real estate agent gets shot when they go through the walkthrough and killed. And he was a second generation real estate agent, so his mom was a real estate agent. And, bad things happen. But the nature of our business is, if someone calls you randomly and say, for my benefit, for my security, somebody will call and say, hey, I'm so-and-so and I'm interested in this house. And I say, okay, well, are you pre-approved? No, I'm not pre-approved. Well, then I'm not going to show you the house. Why is that? Is it discriminatory? Well, it is discriminatory. I don't want to show a house to someone. I don't want to drive somewhere and be by myself with someone I've never met before in a house where I could be murdered. Is that wrong? I don't really care. You say, well, do you do that to every single person that calls? So any color or any, yes. Because I when you're a young agent, you're always trying to, every time you get any chance at doing any business, you get excited. And so that puts your guard down. Or if you're a desperate agent, you haven't had a closing in a couple months, bills are coming in and you're not able to pay them. And then you have somebody call you out of the blue and say, hey, would you come, show me this house? Oh man, it's powerful. Yes, I will show you the house. Luckily, I'm not in those positions. I'll be okay. So, it's funny, how much business is referral based in real estate, and is it because it's the safest way for the real estate agent? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't do well with this violence that I see. And I wanted to read, I don't have it put up to where you'll be able to see it. But I wanted to read an article or an email that I got from. I'm a member of 3 real estate boards. So there's the St. Louis Association of Realtors, which I'm a part of, and that is St. Louis County, St. Louis City. Okay, and then there's the Jefferson County Real Estate Board, which I think is the Gateway Association now. And then there's the St. Charles Association of Realtors. And the reason why I feel strongly about being part of all of the boards is because I believe that if you're going to do business in a particular area, then you should belong to the board. There's no requirement that I be a part of the boards. All the MLS, all the stuff in the MLS, ours is huge. Maris, it covers probably all the way down to Farmington, probably out to St. Charles, or out to like Jefferson City, and north at least as far as Troy, and probably much further. But anyway, I'm part of the boards, and so one of the boards sent out an email a while back. I might do a video about it in the future, but once you do a video on realtor safety, let's see, number one, they don't do well on YouTube. So you're doing it with the hopes, like I did the video yesterday with hopes that we could, shine a light on a problem, on something that I consider a very serious issue. But I know I'm not going to get the views that I would get on a video about cats. Or I was watching YouTube last night, and the guy went to the zoo, and the video was like 6 years ago, and it had like 205 million views. I mean, I don't know. And I was looking at some of the artists and the musicians in there. I mean, they get 100 million views on a thing. Now, I think the most views I've ever gotten was like 2,000 on a video, and my average is probably like 20. That might be high. So am I getting the word out? Well, I'm making an effort. Is it working? I don't know. But again, we're going to try YouTube for a year. If YouTube doesn't work out, we'll move on to something else. I mean, right now it's fun. I'm just live streaming to myself. But anyway, maybe you're going to watch it later. Let me pull up the email that I have, and hopefully it's, I know you can see me, but you can't see the email. But here it says Realtors Beware. This is from St. Louis County, or St. Charles County. And this came in March. And I still have it in the I still have it in my email because it irritates me. So we want to make you aware of a life-threatening experience some realtor members recently had in our community. So this would be in St. Charles. One of the realtors met with a prospective buyer and another family member after they inquired about a home. The buyer wanted to pay cash for a very expensive property and produced bank and other financial statements to prove that they had the funds. The buyer had a boot on her foot and claimed the funds were from an injury lawsuit. Okay. So just from the first paragraph, some of the things we have to think about. One, like I was telling you, I won't go show a house if it's not pre-approved, if they don't have a pre-approval. Now, pre-approval from a mortgage or pre-approval from, they send me like bank statements or financial statements to prove that you have the funds. That's totally normal. So off the bat, we can't blame the victim here, basically. Okay, and says they found 2 very expensive properties and wanted to purchase them as quick closes with cash. However, there were many issues, excuses, and delays with funding, and the earnest money never arrived. Okay, so when you buy a house, in your offer you have an earnest money. Okay, now the fact that it's an all cash deal is beneficial for the seller and the buyer for a couple of reasons. One, you don't have to have an appraisal. You can close faster. I've always been suspect of people that need to close faster than 30 days. Like, what's your deal? And normally when I work with people, talk with the lenders ahead of time, and normally 30-day close is about right. And the reason why is you're going to have inspections, and you're going to have title work done, surveys, those kinds of things take some time. Can I close, quick with cash? Sure. But anyway, what doesn't make any sense is in our SLAR contract, the earnest money is to be delivered to the title company or held by the broker, which is very unusual. And normally in the contract it says within 3 days of contract acceptance. I think it's within 3 to 5, maybe. So this is concerning because it says the earnest money never arrived. Now, for me, that means we're out of contract. I'm not a lawyer, but it means we're out of contract. So then it says on the closing day, the funds were still not available and the buyer was still promising a wire transfer. The title company contacted the bank due to the continued funding issues, and the bank said they would try to verify the checks. Now, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it could just be a writing thing. What checks are we verifying? Are they the escrow checks? Okay, or the earnest money checks? And then doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay. And then it says that same day, the buyer's agent received a threatening phone call from a blocked number. It was someone screaming unkind comments toward the buyer's agent. Overnight, the buyer's agent team leader received a text stating that they had been hired to assassinate, kill me, and demanded a ransom for their life. The buyer's agent team leader notified the buyer's agent and the police. Okay. So let's unpack that, because when I read it, it didn't make any sense. That same day, the buyer's agent received a threatening call from a blocked number. It was someone screaming unkind comments towards the buyer's agent. Okay. Overnight, the buyer's agent's team leader received a text stating that they had been hired to assassinate, kill me, and demanded a ransom for their life. Now, this says it in quotation marks. So, and then the next part that's weird is the buyer's agent team leader. So it's a big brokerage. Like it's a big outfit. I don't know who it is, but like my office doesn't have a buyer's agent team leader. Okay. Because we don't have that many agents. I don't need one. But it's also very rare that if you work in real estate, that you, like if say we're doing a deal with another agent, I don't know who the buyer's agent team leader is on the other side, and I don't care. If I'm working with another agent on the other side, I'm working with them. So how this person got a text that said they've been hired to assassinate, kill me, that got weird. Okay. The bank then notified the title company that not only were the checks not valid, but there were also no funds in the buyer's account. The bank statements the buyer initially produced were fraudulent. So, how did the person produce these bank statements that were produced excuse me, fraudulently? I don't know. But it's like, could you have seen that ahead of time? Probably not. And then it says, this is where it got a little bit interesting. It says CaseNet and the police officer verified that the buyer had pages of arrest, was on probation, and had recently violated her probation and was wanted for arrest. The bank closed the account and put an alert on her accounts. So, for all you agents out there, do any of you look at CaseNet before you work with someone? And what would be the thing that you, if you did look up somebody, and well, here's my issues with looking somebody up on CaseNet. One, so do you know their exact name? Two, what constitutes an offense so egregious that you're not going to work with the person? And I know that this is a touchy subject, okay? I'm a real estate agent. I'm not, I'm not, um, I'm not a moral, it's not, I'm not, my job is not to judge others. Okay. My job is to sell houses and to help buyers buy houses. The qualifications for that for me are, do you have the funds on the buyer side, and on the listing side, do you have a house for me to sell? So this eliminates pretty much anything. Would I work with a known felon? I don't know. Are they still a felon? Are you always a felon? I don't know. I've had this. I've talked about this in the past. I've written about it, but it isn't my. I mean, I don't want to be involved in certain things. I'll explain. Like, there was one time I was working with a lady and she was on the meth, and she wanted a place in House Springs the house was destroyed. She couldn't live in it. She didn't have any money. She was with a fellow that was a mess as well. And there was nothing about her that was going to allow her to buy that house financially. It was a waste of my time. Even if she could buy the house, she was in a terrible mess, and I just didn't want to be associated with it. I don't know if that makes me a bad person, and if it does, I'm fine with it. I'm at peace with my decision. But what I would say is I don't think I've ever looked up anybody on CaseNet, and I don't know that CaseNet's going to tell me that they violated their probation and that they're wanted for arrest. Okay. The police officer verifies it, but I'm not calling a police officer every time somebody wants to go buy a house. So then, a couple of days later, the title company contacted the agent team leader, letting them know that they received an envelope in the mail marked urgent. Enclosed was a page from out of a magazine with the buyer's agent face on it. The eyes were scratched through, and an X was on her face with the word target on the page. They contacted the police and filed a report. Upon further digging on the buyer and family member, they'd opened a real estate office back in December, but weren't licensed nor registered with the state. So this was just a train wreck, okay? And then here we go. It says, these were the things that they advised. Be aware that activity like this is taking place in our community. Be cautious with approaches that are too good to be true. Be diligent in verifying information up front and throughout the process. Contact your broker about suspicious behaviors and authorities when dangerous occurrences like this develop. Communicate to the association so we can spread the word to keep all members safe. Yeah. So, what do you think? Pretty wild, eh? A lot of times you get in this situation where I've noticed it a lot. Okay. Something happens. Something bad happens. And the response is, we can never let this bad thing happen again. And so we'll tighten the screws. We'll make it even more difficult to do X, Y, or Z. So how does that play out in our industry? Well, it's like, it goes like this. Okay. We will require you to fill out a form before you go on any showing, or we require you to write a form with your buyers on every house you go see. So you have to fill out a form that says, we looked at this house at this time. And that's going to therefore allow us as a broker to know where you are at all times. That's going to solve the problem. Well, it's probably not, number one. Number two, it's further restricting your travel, or restricting what you do. So now that I have this form as a broker, I can say, you weren't working very hard Monday of last week. In fact, you didn't show any houses and you didn't take any listing calls. Tuesday, you were just even worse. So now I've got this data ancillary to the purpose of the form, which is to provide safety. But it goes a step further than that because you can implement it board wide. And then what happens is you're restricting a whole group of agents against other companies that aren't. So there's iBuyers right now. There's Open Doors advertising heavily in St. Louis. You have discount commission brokers like Redfin on the listing side who don't play by the same rules that you do. I mean, they'll go and their whole business model is we're going to do this so fast that the associations don't have any chance of restricting our movement, and the real estate boards and the real estate commissions don't have any chance to write rules against us. We're just coming in and we're going to do it, and you can go ahead and have your restrictions, and we're going to go buy houses and we're going to go make some money. And that's a reality of today that didn't exist in the 70s or the 80s. When something used to be illegal, you didn't do it. Okay. Now, when something's illegal, you do it, claim ignorance, wait for the lawsuit, and then fight the lawsuit. And that could take 2 or 3 years. And by that time, you've made enough money that you can, effectively force change by lobbying or, just blowing up the business model at the point where it would be silly to restrict you. I mean, how do you think, I'm not complaining about Uber, but how do you think Uber did that? There were taxis before Uber, and taxis for 100 years, and you had to buy permits. Medallions in New York City used to be very, very well, a way to build wealth because there were only so many. So I'm not saying that it was, that's what Uber did. What about PayPal? They brag about how they knew that they couldn't do it now. And they talk about how they just did what they wanted to do, and then they waited for the regulators to come and say they couldn't. By that time, they were so big, there was nothing they could do about it. And that's what we're going to see in real estate. Somebody's going to come through with a breakthrough technology that ends it. While we're busy, with our political action committee apologizing for this or apologizing for that, or any number of things, having forums and discussing this and that. Other people are out there, other companies are out there trying to make money. Okay. And if you're not responsive, you're toast. So I bring you the story just because I'm concerned about realtor safety. Is there something that can be done about this? Well, I don't know what you could do to prevent it. It's just part of the business. I've mentioned some things, obviously with a pre-approval, obviously open houses can be dangerous. Working with people you don't know, it can be dangerous, but a lot of times you're going to be working with people you don't know. So anyway, fascinating story there. I kind of want to give you a window into, what I do daily. And that's in the morning I get well read for the day to, see what other people are talking about. Now, do I take the articles as 100% fact? I don't know. I don't trust anything any more than you probably do. So anyway, let's go over some of the articles that I saw today. Let's bring you along a pretty wide variance of things. And here we go. It's weird. I use a different type of screen for when I do my live streams versus when I do the videos. So sometimes I'm a little bit quicker here. So we're going to go to this story first. It says, when does it make sense to use your home's equity? So off the top, this is a home finance type article written by admin. So that always gives you, pause, I guess. It says, housing prices continue to rise significantly, with median home prices soaring past $400,000 for the first time. Housing prices have been going up for 8 years. This means if you're a current homeowner, you might have a significant chunk of equity in your home. When does it make sense to use that equity and put it to work, particularly since the interest rates remain low? And so this will be the benefits of using equity now. There are some economic factors outside of your personal situation that could make now a good time to use your home equity. Mortgage rates are historically low, meaning it's cheap to borrow money right now. You could end up taking the equity out and then earning a lot more than you would pay in interest on a mortgage. Since rates are low and you can lock in your rate for an extended period, you may not see your mortgage rates increase, if at all. Inflation is going up at a near record paces, and that makes the idea of a fixed rate debt pretty appealing. If you get a fixed rate mortgage for 30 years, your payments will be cheaper in real dollars. So what they're saying is, inflation is here, and that if you can get a fixed rate now, that should be cheaper than what that should be cheaper than what the real dollars will be worth in the future. It says, when you have borrowed equity, the interest is tax deductible and tax free. I always caution people to check with their tax professionals and don't rely so much on articles. If you use the equity in your home, you'll have liquidity so you can take advantage of opportunities as they might arise. Now, honestly, I don't know the current environment for home equity loans. They were really, there was a lot of refinancing going on. And that to me was actually ahead of when home buying took off, you were seeing some refinancing ahead of that because I guess the rates were so low. Now, what ended up happening is refinancing got, for a bank, I don't know for everybody, but for a bank, a refinance is not as lucrative as a mortgage, as a first-time mortgage. So the banks, what they were doing is saying, yes, you can refinance, but we'll lock in your rate today, but it's not going to be for 60 days before we refinance, which was fine. I don't know what's going on now, but what I wanted to say is in the mid 2000s, what happened was they would what you would do is you take out the home equity, you take out a home equity line of credit, and you would use it to fix up your home. So you would redo your kitchens, do your bathrooms, and what ended up happening to some is that they overdid they overdid it on their kitchen. They went with granite. They went with $70, a square foot cabinets, flooring. It just got expensive. So what would normally be in a house, maybe a $10,000 kitchen, became a $20,000 kitchen. And then in 2007, 2008, when the market crashed, now they had borrowed all their home equity, and they couldn't sell the house for what they had into it, in their opinion. So they either left them to sit, or they were just not happy people. So going on in the article, it says, are there risks? Some risks come with taking the equity out of your home as well. For example, if you already have a high debt to income ratio, taking on more debt is never wise. If your income is at risk, you should avoid taking on new debt as well. So this is just me. When is your income ever guaranteed? Like at a job? Are you guaranteed to have a job always? No. And then high debt to income ratio. Yeah, that's never a good idea. And then it says, how do you know where to invest? So if you want to take equity out of your home, the goal is that you're earning more than the interest rate on your loan. There are a lot of ways you can do this. For instance, you could invest in the stock market or a real estate investment trust. So, just for giggles. So I take my money out of my home. Okay. I take the equity out of my home, and that's one lump sum payment. And then I take that and I put it in a real estate investment trust. When we've seen home prices increase for 8 years straight, many of us were alive during 2007, 2008, and watched people get crushed in their homes for having home equity loans, partly. And so we're going to take that money and we're going to invest it in a real estate investment trust. Now, what do you think real estate investment trusts do when the market crashes? They don't do very well. So it says other financially wise ways to invest the equity in your home include. Now, this is a fascinating thing. Financially wise way. Okay. One, to secure a stronger financial future, you might consider tapping into your home's equity to pay off high interest rate debt. For example, if you have a credit card with a 16% interest rate and you get a loan with 3.5 interest rate, you're going to get yourself out of debt faster. and you're going to reduce what you're paying in interest significantly. I believe that this is the most wise thing to do. No question. This makes sense to me. But can we, just for a moment, examine, before we make this choice, can we examine what got us into the situation where we've got massive amounts of debt on our credit card? So is it, and I'm not, is it spending? Because if it's spending, if you don't change your spending habit, just using a home equity loan is not going to fix that underlying problem. It says investing in real estate can be a smart way to use your home's equity. For example, you might use the money from your home equity to then put a down payment on a rental property. And let's talk about that. So you have good credit. Okay. You're renting to someone that doesn't have good credit. You're using your assets to float someone that's not good at paying rent, or that has to pay rent because they can't buy a house, or they're transitioning from one location to another, or they're older and don't want to have the responsibility. But whatever it is, your gold standard, the reason why you actually have the money is because you have saved, you have got home equity, you are doing everything the right way, and you're going to lend that money to someone who isn't doing things the right way, which never made sense to me, and I'm in real estate. And then it says, starting a business is a way to invest your future, although it is risky. Risky and wise don't go together to me all the time. The goal is, if you're considering now is the optimal time to tap into your equity, is to invest in something that's going to generate income. You want to pay back your loan with income so that you grow your wealth from the future. So what if you could get 11% in the stock market? I'm not saying you can, I'm just saying, what if you could? And your interest rate is 3.5%. So you've got a spread of what, 7? I don't know. As I get older, debt is less and less interesting to me. And you can say, well, it's not, it's business debt. It's different than personal debt. Any debt. Anytime I'm working for someone else, I'm not real interested. Perhaps, perhaps you think differently, and that's okay. The world is full of different people doing different things, and that's what makes it interesting. I would not want to use I'd be really concerned about using my home equity now. What happens if, I'm sorry, I'm yawning, I'm just getting going today. What happens if, let's say your house right now is appraised for $300,000. Okay, so you can get your loan, and then the market tanks, and now your house is worth $200,000. Now you're in a negative. You went from a good situation to a negative equity situation, and you really had no control over any of it. It's just something that I was going through. So that was the first article. Thought it was interesting. Second article, this RS Media, I do see a lot of stuff from them. It says, single-family home prices continue upward momentum. Home prices. Now, I've got two of them. I've got the actual press release and then the RS Media release. But let's just go over this one. I'm going to cut out the other one because we don't have time. But it says home prices for single-family properties continue their upward trajectory in September, going against typical season market slowdowns, according to the most recent indices. The organization reported a 19.5% annual increase in September, down from 19.8% in August. The 10-city composite increased 17.8% year over year, down from 18.6% the previous month. The 20-city composite increased 19.1%, down from 19.6%. Markets with the highest year over year price gains were Phoenix, Tampa, and Miami. We talked about Phoenix when we were talking about Zillow's iBuyer program that blew up. I believe they were also heavy in Orlando. 6 of the 20 cities in the 20-city composite index reported higher home prices for the year ending September 2021 compared to August. And then it goes through all of the places. Missouri isn't on there. Then they have this quote, and I saw it before, and it makes me go crazy. If I had to choose only one word to describe September 2021's housing price data, the word would be deceleration. Housing prices continue to show remarkable strength in September, though the pace of the price increase declined slightly. The index rose 19.5 from year-ago levels and up 17.8% and 19.1% respectively. This month, however, the rate of price growth began to decline. So, look, this guy is upset because it declined. Look, it declined. The 20-city composite index increased 19.1% year over year, down from 19.6. So we're talking about 0.5%. And he's saying that this is deceleration. And that's fine, but house prices are still pretty significant, pretty high. And, 19% is a big gain. And then this is like if you just look at Atlanta, September and August was 1.9, year over year 21.2. This is not sustainable. I don't know when it's going to go, but when it does, I don't know. All right. I'm going to skip over this one for the second. I'm going to go to this one. The Federal Housing Finance Agency announces conforming loan limits for 2022. Baseline conforming loan limit will increase to $647,200. Federal Housing Finance Agency announced conforming loan limits for mortgages to be acquired by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will be $647,200, an increase of $98,950 from $548,250 in 2021. So for you to have a conforming loan, mortgage brokers love to sell conforming loans. They don't want it on their books. You can go all the way up to $647,200 on a loan, and you're good. They'll buy the loan. What does that mean? Well, it just means that they're raising, it just means inflation is here and then it's going up. Now, it says seasonally house prices increased 18.5% between the third quarters of 2020 and 2021. Therefore, the baseline in 2022 will increase by the same percentage. For areas which 115% of the local median home value exceeds the baseline conforming home limit, the applicable loan limit will be higher than the baseline loan limit. So basically in high cost areas, the new ceiling loan for one unit properties will be $970,000, which is 150% of $647,000. So is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It's a reflection of the fact that houses are more expensive right now. It's a good thing if you're a real estate agent, and it's a good thing if you're a lender. I mean, but the way jumbo loans work and things like that, I'm not a mortgage broker. As long as you can get a 30-year fix for somebody, most of the time you're in good shape. Let's go over this article here. I want to read through it because I think it's important. I do not care if someone's LGBTQ plus. I don't care. If they have money to buy a house, we're friends. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. But I do get worried about free speech. I do get worried about that. So it says the LGBTQ Real Estate Alliance is asking the National Association of Realtors and a bunch of other organizations to disassociate themselves from a realtor based on what they say are discriminatory actions. According to a report, the incident took place this past June when a Missoula, Montana area pastor and part-time real estate agent withdrew his church from a food assistance program that distributed flyers promoting Pride Week and LGBTQ rights, saying it was contrary to the church's biblical doctrine. A member of the public later filed a complaint against Huber to the Organization of Realtors in Missoula, citing a violation of the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics. Since then, he's been facing the ethics complaint for engaging in hate speech. Has filed suit to avoid the realtor's ethics rule, saying it's too vague to be enforced and that it discriminates against Huber for exercising his religious beliefs. So this man, working as a pastor and as a part-time real estate agent, withdrew his church, where he was a pastor, from a food assistance program that distributed flyers promoting Pride Week and LGBTQ rights. So he was not acting in the capacity of a real estate agent when he did this withdrawal. And that's where the law is a little bit dicey, or not the law. That's where the rule is a little bit dicey to me, because the ethics rule is across the board. So you can't say anything, anytime, anywhere. You have no free speech protection as a realtor currently. Lawsuit states Huber could be fined $5,000 by the realtor group and barred from using its multiple listing service, and making it virtually impossible for him to continue as an agent. So the organization ordered Huber to attend an ethics hearing. And regarding the complaint, Huber's attorney stated the realtor's hate speech rule is intended to purge Christians from the real estate business. If you are a Christian who believes the way that tens of millions of American Christians do, that homosexuality is wrong, there is simply no way that you can participate as a realtor with the kind of hate speech prohibition that exists. I don't like the framing of Christians versus homosexuals. That's not a good way to go, not a good path to follow, but whatever. It says, we need all hands on deck here, and if we don't stand up to this, the LGBT woke mafia is going to come after all of us. Well, they did. And then it says in response, so the LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance chief and the national president sent a letter to the newly installed NAR president regarding what it says is Huber's discriminatory actions and his attorney's hateful comments against the LGBT. So the attorney's not allowed to speak either. And then it says, while the LGBTQ plus Alliance greatly appreciates the ongoing support from NAR and numerous associations, a moment like these demand action, has an obligation to ensure our community is protected from any forms of discrimination committed within the housing industry. It is our belief that Huber's behavior, along with comments from his attorney, should not be treated lightly and represent a clear violation of the Code of Ethics. They warrant Huber's immediate removal as a realtor and membership of all related realtor groups. We have encouraged the real estate broker to end its affiliation with him. Smith responded, Smith being the president of NAR, National Association of Realtors, deep committed to take very seriously Article 10, and specifically standard of practice is designed to achieve this commitment. Now, we don't see, so far I have not seen the Realtor Code of Ethics Standard of Practice 10-5. I'm just going to go read it. I don't know. I mean, I kind of know what it is. Let's see if I can just get it quickly. Duties to the public. This is Article 10. And then what did it say? 10-5. Realtors must not use harassing speech, hate speech, epithets, or slurs based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familiar status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Effective 11/12. or 11/20/20. So must not use harassing speech. But this was not based as a realtor. This is based at any point in time. That's what people. No, that's not. I don't. Whatever these organizations want to do, I don't have any dog in the fight, in my opinion. But that's where people do have the complaint. Is that, look, if I'm on clock time, I should be able to follow the code of ethics and not have anything, not say anything negative. But if I'm not on clock time, then I should be able to say whatever I want. And that's not how that reads. So anyway, realtors, and then it said that they're going to have hearings and it's fair and it's great. And then it says that they pointed to the National Code of Ethics. It says realtors should not deny. Oh, I'm sorry. It was right here and I missed it. I'm sorry. I don't know that you should use. When should you use harassing speech, hate speech, epithets, or slurs against anybody? Like, I just don't see when that's appropriate. Anyway, we've obviously supported NAR's mission to remove discrimination from our industry. But you'll never remove discrimination from our industry. It's not enough to just remove discrimination. You have to be actively against it based on my understanding of the New World Order. When a realtor chooses to openly and repeatedly express negative views of the LGBTQ plus community or any other diverse sector, we do not believe they should have the right to be a member. It's that simple. I don't know who, I don't see the quote. Wyand. Who's he? He's the Ryan Wyandotte. He's the chief executive officer of the LGBTQ Real Estate Alliance, which was launched in June 2020, and is one of the largest LGBTQ plus and allied trade groups in the nation with nearly 2,000 members. What do you think? What do you think? I don't know. I don't care to wade into that argument. I will say this. When I was a kid, we didn't have social media. Okay? So the only way you could really go after somebody would be with like a newsletter or a newspaper. And even then, that seemed kind of counterproductive to your motives. So let's say I don't like this idea that I don't want to say like with this minority group or this minority group or this majority. I'm not very comfortable with that. But let's do it a way that I'd feel more comfortable. Let's say that there was a teacher at a school that liked the color orange. Okay. And everyone knows that you can't like the color orange in this particular community. You're not allowed. There's rules against it. And so if the teacher liked the color orange and didn't say anything to anyone else other than when they went to the teacher went to the orange colored groups meeting, those who like oranges, there would be no issue. You'd never know. Kids would still be taught. Everything would be fine. Now we live in a world where the man that likes the color orange can put on his Facebook page, hey, I like the color orange. And in this day and age, if the color orange is not acceptable, you can be removed from your profession of teaching school. Some people I suspect would be like, well, that's the way it should be. Other people like myself, just a little bit concerned by that because of the openness of the world that exists now that didn't exist before. And then you get into this issue where, to me, you can have fake people online. So let me, in my mind, come up with the most disgusting human being in the world. Okay. And let me make a caricature of him online, or her. It doesn't have to be man or woman. Now I can act as that person online pretty much without repercussion. I mean, maybe I'll get banned on Twitter, but you can go pretty far before somebody even notices your account. I suspect. I don't know. But I feel like we've never resolved this. I feel like we've never resolved the issue of, hey, someone's working and they're doing a fine job teaching or whatever. They're certainly playing within the rules. And then their home life off the clock is a total wreck, and they're okay with that. They're not hurting anybody. In theory, if, I can understand how if they're broadcasting negative views towards other groups, they're hurting someone. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is let's assume that it was back in the 1960s and no one knew these things after hours. I mean, I don't, it's the same thing. Like, let's assume someone's working, okay, and they have a uniform of their employer on. So let's just go with the easiest example. McDonald's, okay. You have to wear an outfitted, uniform at McDonald's. So you're working there and you say something against a group, negative. You use a slur. You hurl a slur at someone, okay. Well, now you're representing McDonald's. You look terrible. Now, let's say you're off the clock, but in your McDonald's uniform on social media, and you hurl a slur at someone. You're representing McDonald's because you're wearing their uniform. You're therefore in the wrong. McDonald's wants to fire you, they fire you. I have no problem with that. Now, let's say you're just your normal person. You're not dressed. You're not sponsored by McDonald's. You never tell anybody that you work at McDonald's. No one knows you work at McDonald's. You're not dressed like you work at McDonald's. You hurl an epithet. Not a good thing. No one thinks that's great. Should you lose your job at McDonald's when someone finds out that you work at McDonald's? Some of you probably say yes. I haven't gotten that far. It's a concept that is new to me, and I think on a case-by-case basis as the way I like to proceed in my thinking. Anyway, that's that. I will be following this because I think it's important. I don't have an answer, though. I would prefer to watch it from this level. So that's where I'm at. Now, last article. Then we'll head out for the day. Living on a one-way street versus a two-way street, which is better? Now, I've never really thought about this. As a real estate agent, I will say that I've never thought about this. I've never said to a buyer, hey, you should worry about a one-way street or a two-way street. What I have said is, there are times when I'll see, a house will be on a busy street and you have to back up into a huge amount of traffic just to get out of your house. And I'll say two things. One, the value won't be as high here as it will be as a home in a neighborhood. And two, are you sure you really want to do this? But here we go. Should you make a decision to buy a home based on which direction the traffic is heading? Studies have shown that the amount of traffic, not the direction it's going, that can raise or lower the valuation of a home. Heavy traffic equates to noise and congestion, which is why homes on busy roads are less desirable. This is, in my practice, in my experience, this is true. And I get very uncomfortable when agents don't think that's true and they tell their buyers that it's okay to spend more than what you would spend inside the neighborhood on a busy street. I think that's malpractice. Home on a busy street will likely have less value than a comp that's around the corner. It won't, because agents don't care. They just want to have a comp. That's been my experience. While our clients don't typically search for homes based on whether they're one-way or two-way street, some will gravitate one way or the other based on where they grew up. And so this is true for me. Clients will not say, please, John, find me a home that's on the busiest street in Afton. And they also won't say, hey, hey, I want to live on a one-way street. So, this person says that she grew up on a one-way street and she preferred to live on a one-way street. One-way street is typically deemed safer. These are some reasons why we wouldn't live on a one-way street. Safety, convenience, and accessibility. Two-way streets can make up main roads, which means they're often near bus line or other mode of transportation. They also see a fair share of emergency vehicles. So I just thought that was interesting. We definitely have, one-way streets in St. Louis. I've never had somebody say they want to live on one solely for that reason. But I think we should take into consideration anything that a buyer would be interested in. I think that's just part of doing your job. Well, we made it through. I don't know. I learned some things today. Hope you did too. I feel better. I feel better after this because we talked about some things that are difficult subjects, but it's important to have some conversation about them and not pretend it doesn't exist. So I'm gonna head out. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Now, if you want to be on the next stream, it'll be tomorrow at 9. Kind of like the 9 o'clock time so far. I might change it later, but right now 9 is good. And then if you have any questions or anything, put them in the comment section or drop me an email, and we'll go from there.